the twilight of Kulan's hound. As he was surrounded by Queen Mabe's forces, the bard sang to him like so. Give me your spear, or I will spread the story of your shame. In that era, the songs of the minstrels were treated as truth, even if they were pure fiction. Cuchulainn gave his spear to the minstrels. The spears which had passed into the enemy's hands, one by one, snatched all that was dear to him. There were 3 minstrels. The first threatened Cuchulainn's honor. The second pressed for the spear by threatening to mock all of Ulster otherwise. And the third? He had lost his charioteer and his favorite horse. Still, the third minstrel sang again for the last spear. There are no more spears to give. The price of my own honor, for the ransom over the honor of all Ulster. I have paid in full. So said Cuchulainn, raising his voice. To that, I see. So let me sing to shame your family, and all who are dear to you. The minstrel laughed and sang in reply. Hearing this, he laughed at the top of his voice. I have no choice then, and tossed the last spear. By the enemy's hand, the spear finally pierced the belly of the hound. I'm not sure why Lancer is willing to help, but everything is now fully prepared. Under the dim moonlight, tonight at the church, a conclusion will be reached. Awesome. Church at night. Let's fucking do it. This fucking game's gone on for too long. I just want to finish it. There's so much shit to do. Future stuff. We finally met on the hill road, leading towards the church. Lancer kept his promise.
Yo, Nanda, 時間よりちょい早いじゃねえか.
His jokes might be casual, but his armor isn't. It was half a year ago that I saw him in a full battle array. Ah, that's right. It's already been half a year since the war ended.
それでどう戦うんだ? 相手の戦法は知ってるって言ってたけど.
Stopping the as of yet unseen master's trump card, Frogrock, is the key to this battle.
いや、フラガラックは封じられねえ。ありゃよくできた迎撃法こと切り札の出し合いなら、フラガラックは最強の一つと言っていい。
So Lancer says, there's no way to defeat Frogrock. That thing is a missile that reacts to the enemy's trump card and is released when a clash occurs. Thus, to defeat Bazette, one must not use one's own noble phantasm. If you restrain your own trump card, Frogrock's power will be effectively halved.
それだけ?
それだけ。こっちが宝具さえ使わなけりゃ、フラガラックは波の宝具だ。まあ、向こうは好きに切り札を使えるんで、宝具なしじゃちときついんだが。
The look in Lancer's eyes tell me that there's no way he would lose with this strategy. Come to think of it, amateur magic and regular range attacks like arrows and knife throwing won't even scratch him. His combat skills is also superior to Bazette's. Should he fight consistently, victory should not be a problem. However, since we bring Saber to kill her servant.
すぐに済むから、お前は離れて様子を見てろ。
Oh, wait, what the? Okay. Both are like rewrite history and shit. Like, oh, his like spear always pierces, but hers is gonna be like it goes off before. But in his little thing, he has battle continuation, which means he can basically fucking do whatever he fucking wants. Oh, just cut off his fucking arms. Oh, I'm still going. Stabbed in the heart, still going. So I mean, even if she uses hers, it'll probably just be a double kill. Frogrock is undefeatable. Despite this fact, Lancer still rose to the sword's challenge. His spear always pierces the heart. He literally can't lose. Unless she's really lucky. We climb up the hill towards the makeshift arena. The moonlight's dim and my eyes cloud a little when I look up. The moon is dark tonight, or perhaps the stars are close. In the void of the night where one can touch the darkness with a stretch of hand, there are 2 figures waiting our arrival. No longer knowing how many times this has occurred before, the Lady Magus followed the dark shadow Avenger, fixes her stare onto the enemy as always. As if seeing a ghost, her sight becomes transfixed onto Lancer's figure. Lancer pays no attention to the Magus. With his index finger, he estimates the distance to his foe. 1, 2, 3, 4... The distance is about 10 meters. He steps into throwing range and points the tip of his spear to the ground.
エオロ、ニード、アンスール、イング。
Is that some sort of spell? A square with a rune at each corner appears, but it doesn't feel like magic at work. Now moving a step away from his position, Lancer swings his spear once in the direction of his opponent. Your move. No names are exchanged. The battle's aura speaks for itself.
Avenger. あれは
What the fuck if I know? Zed asks the shadow.
何言って、サーバントだよ。
そんなはずはない。あんなサーバントは。あれは何のサーバントだ、アベンジャー。セイバーでもない。アーチャーでもない。ライダーでもキャスターでもアサシンでもない。
There's only one left.
あれは。
それこそ一目瞭然だ。なあマスター。あの獲物を見て、まだ何もわからないのか？
The shadow cackles. But now, the Lady Magus has lost all of her fighting spirit. Gazing at the enemy in front of her, she is about to burst into tears, not even sure why herself. Then Lancer's cold words pierce her heart.
おい、今からあんたを殺すわけだが。
She lifts her fists as if she is afraid. Her resolve is completely gone.
待ってください。私はあなたと戦う理由はない。あなただって私と戦う理由は
あるだろう。あんたは聖杯戦争に勝つために来た。サーバントを全て倒すまで戦いは終わらない。あんたは今俺と殺し合うためにここにいる。
The shadow laughs, a smile that says that's right.
違う。私はあなたとは戦わない。そうだ。あなたとは戦わない。あなたとは戦わない。だってあなた私のこと知って。
知らねえよ。あんたみたいな負け犬に覚えはない。
A simple sentence. Her knees nearly give out like a puppet with its strings cut.
ではあなたは私の敵か。
Not the support of strings, but her own will keeps her standing.
そうだ。この後ゴウラ、ルーン使いなら意味がわかろうよ。
その陣を敷いた戦士に敗走は許されず、その陣を見た戦士に退却は許されない。我ら赤枝の騎士に伝わる一騎打ちの大金塊だ。
That is the real reason behind the magic that Lancer cast. The Lady Magus resumes her battle pose. The spearman grips the cursed lance tightly with both hands. Give me the old poke. The air freezes. Lancer's noble phantasm is eagerly waiting for its master's call. And on the other side, 10 meters away from him, a lead-colored sphere is floating behind the Lady Magus's figure. This is a mystery of Bazet, the sword Frogrock from the Age of Gods. Lancer is well aware of its abilities and had also concluded that its limitless countering power cannot be defeated. Yet having made that judgment, his grip does not weaken.
その心臓。
Spearman's arms ripple with strength. It's not a throw. Lancer's own body becomes one with the spear.
アンサラ。
The sphere starts expanding. That sword of the gods protected by a mysterious force, and a certain concept locks in on the spearman's heart.
もらい受ける。
The leap and the revelation of the true name, all in the same instant. The first to take the air was the cursed red spear, Gable.
甘く見たな、サーバント。
Frogrock, the sword that alters light, raises to intercept it. The oath of what the fuck ever that means leaves no room for hesitation. Both are aiming to destroy the enemy of their greatest strike. The points cross, an attack that means death to both of them. The spearman does not have a shield to deflect the sword, and the Magus cannot dodge the lance. However, if they are to strike each other simultaneously, the Lady Magus will come out unharmed, just by a little. Should the Magus' sword hit its target just a little sooner, the battle will be decided that very instant. Frogrock, the sword that alters light. What this sword gouges out isn't the enemy's heart. It severs the fate of mutual destruction. It's a cursed sword of certain victory. Because of this, it is impossible for Frogrock to attack first. The enemy has to use its trump card before that. That is the prerequisite for releasing Frogrock. The enemy will always move first. Accordingly, even if Frogrock defeats the enemy in one blow, the Lady Magus will be simultaneously destroyed by the opponent's noble phantasm. What sounds like a certain kill is a mutual attack made with the premise of one's own death. However, Bazette's sword reverses all of that. It is released immediately after the activation of the enemy's noble phantasm, yet no matter how fast the opposing weapon is, it will always reach its target first, taking the enemy's life. A noble phantasm that delivers the final blow in a needle-thin, concentrated blast. That alone deserves praise. But its truly dreaded power lies in its special ability. That which comes later cuts first. What that second name implies, Frogrock warps the idea of cause and effect, rewriting its own attack as the event that occurred first. Yeah, that's what's weird with Gaebulk, because both rewrite history, and the result are reality. No matter how great a noble phantasm may be, the dead cannot use it. The one who's killed first cannot counterattack. Frogrock is a mystic code that exaggerates this fact. It is a conceptual curse that distorts fate. That weapon is a cursed sword of reversal that can nullify any attack. With time, its blade, this trick of the gods, has no equal. And therefore, Lance, who released his spear first, will not be exempted from this curse. The sword of the war of God is approaching. Once Frogrock is let loose, it cannot be stopped. The moment he used Gaebulk against Frogrock, he had already lost. The spearman is well aware of this. To survive an attack made by the sword of the war god, one needs to possess an auto-resurrecting noble phantasm, or more than one life. In other words, something that is resurrected after being killed would be Frogrock's natural enemy. Of course, the Lancer does not have anything of that sort. The spearman knew the conclusion of the battle he entered before he even started. At that time, for only a split second, he thought he saw the man in front of him waver.
言いたかないんだけどさ、割と切羽詰まってんだわ、こっち。
Fucking Shinji.
時間制限があるとは思っていなかった。
Oh wait, no, not Shinji, it's the other dude. He just sounded like him. Avenger. He had no way of understanding what it meant. Only.
頼むよ。このままだとつまらない結果になる。彼女がそういう風になるのは嫌なんだ。
The man's complaint was one he had expected as well. It's an old story. Perhaps I wanted to be killed by your hands. In a sincere voice as in a prayer, the witch from the realm of shadows smiled. Oddly enough, that's when he received his demonic spear. The witch was no longer human. She had excelled too much as a warrior, been too knowledgeable in sorcery, and slain too many men, gods, and spirits. The woman who had been the only teacher that the Hound of Kulain ever looked up to had been saddled with a fate where even her own death was out of her reach. The witch's realm will one day be sundered from the mortal world, reduced to a land of the dead. The reward for a human that became too close to godhood was ascension to a plane that is neither of this world nor the next. What a predicament. I suppose I should have died before I became this way. In the gloomy castle's garden, the witch laughed. It was the same hearty laugh that he was so fond of. The beloved disciple, still but a youth, had finally arrived at the castle by the shortest route. Even so. If only you were born a little earlier. Young. Still so young. The witch chuckled. The beloved disciple accepted it as a mature warrior. He had intended to live fast, but as a man, he had left the woman he loved until it was too late and regretted it. The war god's sword pierces the spearman's chest. Sharp pain, a feeling he had almost forgotten, briefly fills him with energy. Strength flows into the crumpling fist again. The spear he has left behind but one regret. The demonic spear only ever took away the lives of his loved ones. His one and only close friend, his son that grew up in a distant foreign land. But before that, it was meant to kill a single woman. Thinking back, he spent his whole life getting sidetracked. One person is not a substitute for another, but if doing so will save someone, then he might as well accomplish now what he regretted not to be able to do in his youth. His lips curl into a resolute grin. The spearman grimaces as his heart is torn apart and...
しかし、どうしてこういい女にばっかり縁がないのかね。
Though late in doing so, he complains about his fate. And so the Lady Magus is confident in her victory. The sword of the war god has hit its target before the enemy's lance. At that moment, the enemy's attack became an impossible event that will disappear back in time. This is the world's fundamental law, a natural result protected by the absolute order that is time. Yet there's another law for her to learn. A concept many may be defeated by another concept. The spearman is no exception to the curse of time either. It ruptures. Like a flash of lightning, the spear tip pierces through her ribcage. The moment it shoots through the heart, the spear becomes 1,000 sharp thorns, destroying the female Magus's body from within. Oh my god, that part's still... Oh, god. Her body breaks open. Pain and surprise force out her sealed memories. Frog Rock may be the curse that alters the order of events, but this spear is a weapon that truly reverses the cause and effect itself. The moment its true name is revealed, Gaebolg has already pierced the enemy's heart. Yeah, I was saying, it's literally impossible. Thus, even going back in time to kill its master is useless. For a spear that already held the piercing of the adversary's heart as a result, even the death of its master will not prevent this duty from being fulfilled. Yeah, and that's how it was. Her dying brain cannot recognize the enemy in front of her eyes, yet. This was a clash between two opposing rules. This man is the only opponent in this world that would revert to the natural order. She notices the spearman before, a little far. Even if she reaches out as far as she can, she would just barely fail to reach it. The spear is pulled out. With a clank, something hard drops to the ground. Unable to keep upright, the Magus's body collapses. She falls into a pool of her own blood, with her pupils already fading. She finds the earring card from Or rolling on the ground. She remembers it. She remembers it, so she manages to reach out and grasp it tightly. This action uses up half of her remaining life, but the feeling of the stone in her palm makes her happy enough for it to be worth it. Lying on the ground, she tries to reach into her pocket, but her arms can no longer move. She cannot take out the amulet she has stowed away. She doesn't understand what she's trying to say herself, but the fact that she can't show what's inside her pocket fills her with so much sorrow. She becomes that much further away from understanding. The spearman's leaving. Eyes full of sorrow, the Magus happily repeats again and again. Ten seconds later, even that has stopped. All told, it took 1 minute. Lance's prediction was painfully accurate. God. Oh, Jesus! Oh my god! Stepping away from Bizet's corpse, Lancer lets out a heavy sigh. He's using his spear like a walking stick to support his bloodstained body. In any case, the outcome's clear. The only one left is Bizet's servant, Avenger. Without his master, he shouldn't be put up too much of a fight.
お見事。で、俺とやる気力は残ってるか、ランサー。
No.
残ってると言いたいが。
You know,
ほら、なんだ。
kind of hanging on here.
こっちの問題で無理そうだな。
That's why you should have brought Saber. Lance's body is fading away. The battle between Frogrock and Gaebolg was one of mutual destruction. Each received a blow, so there's no reason why Lancer would be the only survivor.
悪いな。あとは好きにやってくれ。だいたい俺の仕事はここまでだろ、小僧。
This must be a true man's spirit. Muttering something about losing face, he soon disappears. But what now? Bizet, thought to be the one reproducing the Holy Grail War, is now defeated. There's no dramatic change yet, but we should be freed from the binds of these 4 days at dawn.
まさかバゼットを殺したところで聖杯戦争は終わらない。何しろ俺がいる限り何度でも蘇るからな。
The shadow laughs. His master is dead, yet Avenger seems to be unaffected.
お前はまあ待て。 せっかくバゼットを殺したんだ。とっておきのショータイムが待ってるぜ。
Oh, shit. The moon's dyed black. All of a sudden, these beasts have gathered around the church. Failed. Failed. Failed.
こいつら全然やる気がない。
The beasts aren't moving an inch. Their glittering eyes are transfixed not on me, but on the servant. Delighted by the failure of another. Distorted by the perverted gleam. Yes, yes, again, failed again.
気象。マスターを失ったからな。
Spoken like a condemned criminal, terrified of the ultimate punishment. I don't want this, he says. The servant genuinely begs for me to help. Then, with a tearing sound, he transforms into a hideous monster. Yes!
お前は
He's the same. The servant Avenger's entire body is melting and morphing into the shape of one of those beasts.
こうして俺は失敗する。よく見ておけ、エミヤシロ。これが正体だ。俺は無限に失敗する。この俺がいる限り、聖杯戦争が終わることはない。
You too, you too. His body shivering. The thing that used to be Avenger, despite being terrified by the surrounding beast and bleeding profusely all over its body, holds on to its sanity and continues to cry out.
いいか。天の杯に至れ。
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
虚無を埋めろ。やめろ。聖杯を満たせ。やめろ。やめろ。可能性を皆殺しにしろ。やめろやめろやめろ。見えない見えない。もう何も見えない。そうだ。本物の俺を殺しに来い。やめて。来ないでよ。殺しに来たら殺してやる。
The black shadow is being devoured by the beast. The ceremony did not take much time. The beasts are disappearing one by one, and then finally in its place. Lacking all signs of intelligence, a new hideous creature is crouching in front of me. Our eyes meet. The creature tilts its head curiously, and then hops onto the bushes like a frog. Okay, time to leave. The only one left in the square. Bazette's body has disappeared without a trace as well. Returned to the first day, probably.
天の杯
Words are familiar. Heaven's Cup and the Holy Grail War 6 months ago. There's a little girl that went by that name. That should be the last piece of this puzzle. On that day, awaiting its end with the break of dawn, in the winter castle where the little girl waits, the last path will be revealed. Great. Learn the truth behind the ruins. Yummy. Cradle Hollow. Great, the next thing. There's a hole in my chest. Something warm spilling out of the wound, and something cold invades me in its place. A dreadful yet calming feeling. This is death. I feel a little pain and a little comfort in this peaceful darkness. It was 8 days before the beginning of the Fifth Holy Grail War. I arrived in the city of Fuyuki and began preparing for battle. After learning the topography of the location, I decided the hiding place that would become my base. With everything perfectly prepared, I summoned a servant. Happened to be Lancer. Unlike all the work I have done until now, this process made my heart swing. It was not the joy and anticipation of fighting. Two things happened that made me happy for the first time about my duties. You told me to cross the ocean. You said to travel around the wide world. Unturned to myself, I asked in trepidation if he was in any way dissatisfied with having to form a contract with me. To which the servant I summoned replied,
昔一度だけ女戦士と肩を並べて戦ったことがあってな。あんたにはあの女の面影がある。
His laughter felt so good, it made my unease feel ridiculous. And then Kotomine happened, and I died. It's not that I was betrayed, it's just that they had unshakable hearts from the very beginning. I was all show and never decided on the self that every person must have by the time they reach adulthood. I never had any confidence. Focusing entirely on forging the armor of my autonomous self, I was never able to forge my living self. My inner self, weak and cowardly, I have been disappointed by the world ever since the moment I was born. You go through it each day as if it was work, my father used to say. That's because I had given up. I was unable to hope, and by having no hope, I let every day pass me by. But that's because I was scared of everything. In truth, I wanted to be rewarded more than anyone else, and yet I continued deceiving myself, pretending to be wise. In truth, I could have enjoyed these days like an ordinary person would, and yet I continued averting my eyes because I would lose it all one day. In truth, being like this is so easy. I want to overcome this weakness so much. I've accepted that I can't bear, that I'll live out my life, to live my life. Feeling so miserable. To be honest, I didn't want to die. Well, yeah, no shit, you don't want to die. And then I fall down to this place. The hell I kept on tasting with every repetition. The bottom of the pot made solely from the resentment and hatred for the dead, for all living beings. Being here is painful. It cannot possibly be compared with the previous sense of peace. Having suffered through death already, I feel like I'll lose my mind having to suffer here afterwards. It'll last for a few minutes before revival, yet this feeling still makes me nauseous every time. The first time I experienced it, I called it hell.
あれが地獄と呼ばれる地点なのかわからない。ただ、おぞましく汚らしかった。意識のある者には、あれは最低の土木窟です。